Imagine you are sitting in your car. It's a normal afternoon. You're waiting for a traffic light to change from red to green. You check your watch, you adjust the radio, and then in the blink of an eye, everything vanishes. But it doesn't go black, it goes white. A milky, luminous, impenetrable white. You aren't in darkness, you are drowning in light. This is how José Saramago's terrifying masterpiece, Blindness, begins. It doesn't start with a war or a bomb or a slow decay. It starts with a single man, at a single traffic light, suddenly struck by a mysterious white sickness. And within days, this white sickness spreads like a prairie fire. It spares no one. Doctors, thieves, police officers, children, entire cities go white. But the scariest part of this book isn't the blindness itself, it's what happens after. Because when the world stops watching, the monsters inside us come out to play. Today, we are analyzing one of the most disturbing, brilliant, and claustrophobic novels ever written. A book that asks the question, if we cannot see each other, are we still human? In 1995, the Portuguese Nobel Prize winner José Saramago published Ensayo sobre a ceguera, or blindness. It's a dystopian novel, but not in the way you might think. There are no zombies, no alien overlords, and no high-tech surveillance states. In fact, it's the exact opposite of surveillance. It is total collective oblivion. The premise is deceptively simple. An unexplained epidemic of white blindness sweeps through an unnamed city. The government, terrified and incompetent, decides that the only solution is a brutal quarantine. They round up the first victims. Patient zero, an ophthalmologist, a girl with dark glasses, a young boy with a squint, and throw them into an abandoned, crumbling mental asylum. This is where the nightmare truly begins. Saramago strips these people of everything. They have no names, they are just the doctor, the doctor's wife, the car thief. They have no possessions, and soon they have no dignity. But there is one twist. One secret that changes the entire dynamic of the story. Amidst the hundreds of blind, stumbling, terrified inmates, there is one person who can still see. The early chapters of the book feel like a slow-motion car crash. You watch the government panic. They don't try to cure the blind, they try to erase them. The asylum is described essentially as a concentration camp. The internees are told that if they try to leave, they will be shot on sight. Food is dropped at the gate, often resulting in chaos and violence as the blind fight over meager rations they can't even see. Saramago writes these scenes in dense, suffocating blocks of text. He doesn't use quotation marks, he barely uses paragraph breaks. Reading it feels claustrophobic, like you are trapped in that white room with them, unable to catch your breath. Inside the asylum, society dissolves almost instantly. Hygiene is the first thing to go. Without sight, people can't find the toilets. They slip in filth. They sleep in their own waste. The asylum becomes a sensory hell of stench and degradation. But the physical filth is nothing compared to the moral filth that follows. This is where Saramago challenges our view of humanity. We like to think that in a crisis, people band together. We think of the Blitz spirit. Saramago says no. He suggests that civilization is just a thin coat of paint over our animal instincts. And when you take away the ability to be seen, the fear of judgment, the social contract, that paint peels off immediately. A hierarchy emerges. It's not based on intelligence or kindness. It's based on brute force. A group of blind men, armed with a hidden pistol, takes over the food supply. They become the blind thugs. They hold the entire asylum hostage. First, they demand all the valuables, watches, rings, money that is now useless. The internees give it up because they are starving. But when the valuables run out, the thugs demand something else. They demand the women. This brings us to the most important character in the book, the doctor's wife. When the soldiers came for her husband, the ophthalmologist, she lied. She told them she was blind, so she wouldn't be separated from him. She enters the quarantine with her sight perfectly intact. You might think this makes her a superhero. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king, right? Wrong. In Blindness, Seeing is not a power, it is a curse. Because she can see, she has to witness the degradation that everyone else is protected from by the white fog. She sees the filth, she sees the cruelty, she sees the men turned into animals. She becomes the caretaker, the guide, the mother figure, silently washing the bodies of the raped women, finding food, burying the dead. She carries the burden of memory for the entire human race, and she faces the ultimate moral dilemma. She could rule this place, she could steal all the food, she could leave, but she stays. However, Saramago pushes her to her breaking point. The blind thugs demand the women of her ward in exchange for food. It is one of the most harrowing sequences in literature. The women go. They sacrifice themselves to feed the group. The doctor's wife is among them, but she brings something with her, a pair of small, sharp scissors. Saramago writes that dignity has no price, that when someone starts making small concessions, in the end, life loses all meaning. The doctor's wife realizes that passivity is no longer a virtue. In a world without law, morality isn't about following rules. It's about survival and justice. In a scene that feels almost biblical in its retribution, she walks into the thug's den. And while the leader of the gang is distracted, she uses her sight, her secret weapon, to guide her hand. She stabs him in the throat with the scissors. She kills him. This is the turning point. It's the moment the victims stop being victims. A fire breaks out in the chaos that follows, destroying the asylum. And when the survivors stumble out into the courtyard, expecting to be shot by the soldiers, they find silence. The soldiers are gone. The birds are gone. The government is gone. The asylum wasn't the only place that fell. The whole world has gone blind. The group of 7, led by the doctor's wife, wanders into the city. If the asylum was a concentration camp, the city is a graveyard. It's apocalyptic. Groups of blind people roam like packs of wolves, sleeping in doorways, fighting over garbage. Nature is reclaiming the streets. Packs of dogs eat the corpses of the dead. It is eerily similar to Cormac McCarthy's The Road, but instead of ash, everything is bathed in that mocking, bright white light. But amidst this horror, Saramago gives us moments of profound beauty. The group forms a strange, dysfunctional family. You have the doctor and his wife. You have the girl with dark glasses, a former prostitute, taking care of an old man with an eye patch and a lonely little boy. They find a stray dog, the dog of tears, who licks the tears off the doctor's wife's face when she finally breaks down. They find shelter in the doctor's apartment. And there is a scene, so simple, yet so powerful, where they all go out onto a terrace in the pouring rain to wash themselves. For the first time in months, they are clean. It's a baptism, a reclaiming of their humanity. It suggests that even when civilization is destroyed, human connection remains. But Saramago has one last punch to the gut. The doctor's wife enters a church to find food or solace. She looks up at the statues of the saints and angels, and she sees that someone, a priest perhaps before he went blind, has painted over the eyes of every single statue with white paint. Even God, it seems, has been blinded. Or perhaps, as the doctor's wife declares to the horror of the blind congregation, the images saw what humanity was doing and covered their eyes in shame. Why did they go blind? Saramago never explains the virus. There is no scientific cure found in a lab, and that's because the blindness isn't a virus. It's a metaphor. At the very end of the book, sight returns as suddenly as it left. One man shouts, "I can see," and the restoration ripples through the city. But the doctor's wife, the only one who saw it all, leaves us with the most haunting thought of the entire novel. She says to her husband, "I don't think we did go blind. I think we are blind. Blind but seeing. Blind people who can see but do not see." Saramago is suggesting that we didn't need a white sickness to be blind. We were already blind. We are blind to the suffering of others. We are blind to the fragility of our society. We turn a blind eye to poverty, to war, to the person standing next to us. The epidemic just made their physical state match their spiritual state. Blindness is a hard book to read. It is dense, violent, and utterly unforgiving. It strips away the comforts of civilization to show us the raw, trembling animal underneath. But it is also a hopeful book. Because in the midst of that white evil, a small group of people found a way to love each other. They found a way to share food, to wash each other's backs in the rain, and to protect the weak. Saramago seems to be saying that while society, the government, the army, the church, might crumble the moment the lights go out, humanity can survive. But only if we choose to open our eyes. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the books that shaped our world. And a question for you to answer in the comments. If the whole world went blind tomorrow and you were the only one who could see, would you try to lead or would you hide?